as I mentioned before, you guys know the costs, and you maybe could throw out some what you think typical costs are on these apps, and they're not that different from the CD-ROM days at some level, but the price points are significantly lower. Now, obviously, the market's bigger. So where do you think like the opportunities are, and where are the profitable business models?
Well, it's interesting because I think that the price points actually sometimes are not that much less, because if you want to build a breakthrough experience, it does start to cost money if you don't want a templatized experience.
Yeah, exactly.
So it does. I mean, we've done some pretty extensive projects that are really getting up there on the price point. But the question always comes back to what's your return on investment? What do you expect? What are your metrics for success? And as a services business primarily, we talk to a lot of our clients and say, there's times when we go, maybe you shouldn't do an app. Maybe you shouldn't do a Facebook app as well. Unless they want to spend the money.
Then it would have been a good idea.
Exactly. But to this point, from the earlier question about the categories, it's like there are times when you shouldn't do an app. There are times when just this rush. It's maybe not a rush anymore, but it has matured to the point where we have to think a little bit more, a little deeper about why we're doing it. Because I'll say, we've been in mobile for a long time, and I remember I was at an Espoo in Finland talking with Nokia, giving a presentation out there, and one of the head guys in content said to me, and this was years ago, he goes, Brian, in a Finnish accent, of course, he says, I won't say that, but he says, Brian, just because you can do it in mobile doesn't mean you should, and there should be a reason why you're doing it. And I thought about it because we were trying to just shove a lot of different utility apps into these little devices, and we weren't really thinking, back to even Calvin's point, about how people would actually use them. So I think relative to the business models, you have to ask yourself, why are we doing this? If we get 100,000 people to download this, does that make it for us? Or if we get 2 million, is it do it for us? I will say in the gaming space, like for example, I think it's been wonderful because it does allow us to take games that normally would have been free flash games or whatever online, that would have been ad supported, that would not have gotten the effective CPM that you would really want, and are viewed as premium content now. So there are revenue models for small game developers. And I think it's awesome because I'll tell you, what all of a sudden happened was Apple gave us the opportunity as game developers, not us because we're fairly big, but a small 2-man, 3-man shop to compete against the EAs of the world. And I think that's really cool, the ability to actually put something out there. It also gave categories like retail the ability to think a little bit differently about how they present their content and the tools that when people go in store, etc. So,
for a publisher, it's still sort of a hit business, right? I'm sort of curious, Randy. Is most of this an investment for Random House, or are you looking at making money, on all this stuff that you're putting in?
Well, I think it's both. My group is, as right now, considered R&D, but very soon I'm sure that will change, and we will have to start justifying the cost. But I regularly have conversations with Brian's team about projects that lend themselves so well to the App Store in so many ways, and we think of fantastic things that we can do there. But frankly, the cost of development doesn't warrant the number of downloads that we're going to get. And sometimes we have to make a hard decision. Do we decide to put in the money and the investment and the time, knowing that we most likely won't make our money back, and consider it learning? There are a lot of times that we'll create products because we have to show our agents and authors that Random House can do it, and we can do it well, and we can get our apps promoted on iTunes, and we can get onto the bestseller list, and we can do interesting promotions in store at Barnes & Noble. And I think that, playing with the various models that you have in the App Store, such as freemium versus paymium, is interesting for us because it's not really something we could do before. In the ebook stores, we either give something for free or it has a cost. And there's not really that merging of the two. So being able to test the waters and, for instance, see how much content it takes to get that good conversion rate. We had built an app that, frankly, we realized we were giving too much for free. It was a language learning product called Living Language, and we gave so much content out for free that people got scared, and they realized, at first they thought it was easy, and then they're like, wow, it's really hard to learn Chinese. I'm not going to spend the money for the rest of this app. So we realized, cut it back, give less content, let them feel like they've achieved something, and then they will invest the money. So Calvin,
if there's people out here that are they've got app ideas, they want to, maybe they feel they can develop them. Is it a really good business model for people to try to create original content licensed content, curate it, and release it, and actually have a hope of making money?
Sure, it's an unbelievable business opportunity, but I think it's important to look at what the desired return on investment is for the person you're describing. There's lots of different types of return on investment.
Most people like the money comes.
Everything converts to money eventually. So because we have such a broad spectrum of customers that we work with, some of the app projects that we do are given away free on the App Store, and it's mainly to produce brand exposure that might convert to dollars in a different time. Like for example, our Discovery Channel for iPad. Can you imagine Discovery Channel not having a kick-ass iPad app? You would be very disappointed in the brand, and it would affect your relationship with Discovery Channel's brand if it had a crappy iPad app. So there's a return on investment there. There's also tune-in opportunities where a well-designed app can basically convert and direct your attention back to the brand in appropriate ways. Those are opportunities for greater tune-in, greater traditional advertising spends. Also, there's more literal opportunities to make money, like ads inside of the mobile app. And that's just one, and then there's the e-commerce opportunities, there's product placement and e-commerce opportunities, also sponsorship and deep campaign opportunities, which are different than just plain advertising opportunities. And that's just one industry and one app. Then you go to games, because we have a business inside of Potter called Thruster, and we produce games like Annoying Orange Kitchen Carnage and Games for Freddie Wong and our own IP. And what we have found there is that on the gaming side, it is insane the number of different variations of revenue models. We do, pay to download. We do free to play with an ad model, and you pay to remove the ads, or you pay for in-app purchases in microcurrencies, always allowing the true gamers to earn their money through game performance and gameplay, and allowing a more kind of a casual gamer to buy into the point system to progress through the game. For a lot of publishers, kind of the holy grail is the auto renewing subscription model. And I think a lot of people get frustrated with, I'm spending this money on an app and I can't make money, because they expect the App Store to make them successful. The App Store is an amazing distribution ecosystem, and it's so much more than just distribution, but we don't have time to go into that. But a lot of people just expect, hey, I want to be like that Trism guy. I want to put an app on the market and just kind of have the App Store make me rich. That's not how the App Store works. That happens from time to time, but you still have to have a strong business model. You have to pull people through that store, and I think that it's important to, when you're developing the game and you're working really hard on all the code and all the creative, you have to have at least 20 to 25% of your hours on a project need to be, what is our revenue strategy, our business strategy? Many times it's just like, well, the easiest thing to do is upload it and sell it for 99 cents. That's a mistake. Don't do that. Don't take 2 months or 20 months or even 2 weeks of your hard work and throw it out there for 99 cents. I can tell you, as a 4-year veteran of the App Store, you will make the least amount of money on a 99-cent download. Don't believe you're going to be the next Angry Birds. Think deeper and work harder on your revenue model, and think about, frankly, things that are harder to do but are better payoff in the long run.
I'm gonna touch base